Good afternoon, and welcome to my book review on The Dream Keepers: Successful Teachers of African American Children by Gloria Ladson Billings. So, this is a synopsis of what this particular book is all about. Essentially, Miss Ladson Billings offers a combination of both research and her own kind of method of storytelling that pertains to a group of 8 educators who are seeing success while teaching African American students. These teachers were selected by their peers and by their administrators, as well as members of the community, for example, parents. And if a teacher's name appeared on both lists, those from within the school and those outside of the school, they were selected. There were 9 people who were identified, but only 8 of them agreed to participate in this 3-year study. Um, Throughout the book, she provides snapshots of what these classrooms look like and some of the activities that are done. And the main focus is on culturally responsive teaching. And they are, again, 8 women, 5 of whom are Black, 3 are white. They range in their careers from 12 years to 40 years. And despite the offers to work at better or more affluent schools, all of these teachers actually want to be where they are. The goal of the book wasn't to look at specific teaching styles or the idiosyncrasies of these teachers, but determine ways to ensure that not just equity for Black students is standard, but also to strive for excellence while not sacrificing the things that make these particular students unique. So there are 7 chapters in this book, and we start off. If you take a look at the left-hand screen, this is the picture didn't show up that great, but we've got a mound of dirt, a seed, and water, of course. The goal is to see growth. So, chapter 1 examines the statistics that African American kids oftentimes lag behind their white counterparts in all areas of achievement, and also discusses some of the factors that kind of play into that, or um, that make that the reality of today. And although seemingly regressive in ideology, the question is posed, should African American students attend separate schools? Um, the truth of the matter is, many of them already do, no matter what we call it. In an attempt to find the answer, many Black students who were purposely segregated, they found that they actually performed better than they did when they were at their integrated schools. And much of the inequality of African American education can be attributed to low expectations, to negative beliefs, and to society's uh, invalidation of African American culture in general. Chapter 2 discusses if culture even matters at all. This chapter leads discussions on assimilationist style, in which teachers see their role as ensuring that students are fit to be a part of society. And oftentimes, that society isn't one that matches their own culture. But culturally responsive teachers strive for excellence and believe that their students can perform. Rather than acting as a beacon of knowledge, I'm the end all be all, I know everything, they act as coaches or as conductors. And they see the benefit of shared responsibility of education. It's the responsibility of not just the educator, but of the student, the parent, the community, the school itself, to see that these students are successful. And parents address the qualities of a good teacher in this chapter as someone who will help their child hold their own academically while not letting them forget about their own, meaning their community, their culture, their home, essentially. The next chapter discusses how teachers see themselves, their students, and others. It looks at the esteem of teachers, which is oftentimes low due to society's view of the profession. low wages, and those sorts of things. But there was one thing that was found in common between all 8 of these teachers is they all had very high esteem. So that could have something to do with their success rate as well. It also brings to light disconscious racism, or the justification of inequity, where we accept the given order of things. And this is essentially when people say, I don't see color. They can be black, green, purple, polka dotted, alien from Mars. A kid is a kid. So they're saying that that is a disconscious form of racism and that there are negative effects to that. Teachers must recognize that students' differences in order to provide equitable learning opportunities, and equity is not meant to mean sameness unless all learners are the same, which of course we know they're not. Teachers who are culturally relevant realize that all students come to school with a certain set of knowledge, and that base needs to be explored and put to use in a way that helps students achieve. Chapter 4 looks at how odd the construct of a classroom is, where we expect students to sit in close proximity to one another, but not to communicate with one another. They're rather expected to learn from an all knowing teacher. And the structure of social relations is also explored here, where those relationships are built up between teacher and student within the walls of the classroom, but also how important extending that beyond the walls of a school building and how it carries over into the outside world, the importance that that holds as well. These particular teachers made an atmosphere of family. They fostered that in their classrooms where students take responsibility for one another and for both learning from and teaching their peers. There's often an air of competition in classrooms, but these particular teachers express the idea that there's little reward in individual achievement and that they're all working together as a whole. Chapter 5 reviews the knowledge that seems to be valued and tested is based off of recall and memorization. That memory continues to be the most rewarded skill in the nation's classroom based on standardized testing. Another thing we see these teachers doing is being spontaneous. Textbooks are not the authority, so divergence from the plan and spontaneity are sometimes required to help students feel connected to the learning. Um, Challenging knowledge is critical in the book of these teachers. There's also an importance placed on representation. And we hear that in the media now a lot, how important it is for kids to see themselves reflected in the movies they watch, the books they read. The same goes for the curriculum. And there should also be multicultural points of views interjected into classroom discussions because we all come again with that um, specific knowledge base. Teachers also must build bridges between where students are intellectually and functionally by incorporating culturally relevant information as to ensure that students participate meaningfully in the construction of knowledge. Chapter 6 delves in a little bit more to that culturally relevant teaching, and literacy is the main focus of it. Knowing that this is a critical indicator of educational progress, but also of our national development, literacy is huge. Teachers help kids see that they are knowledgeable and that they are capable and that they have the ability to figure things out for themselves in this chapter. An in-depth knowledge of one's subject matter, though, isn't enough, as we view in this particular chapter. They must also be well versed in their students, which is why the chapter previous discusses, building those relationships both inside and outside of the classroom. And of course, we encourage students to connect their real life experiences to the curriculum. And the big takeaway here is telling isn't teaching. The focus of education needs to be instructional, but not to the extent that when students aren't learning or choosing not to. So you got those two kids, Johnny and Jimmy, you've done told them how to do a multi-step equation 4 or 5 times and they just aren't getting it. So the punishment then becomes just go to your desk and do this worksheet. You better have all 5 of these problems done. Using this as punishment is definitely not something that is encouraged. Finally, we've got chapter 7 where research shows although it lacks studies as to what blinders teachers may have, that many don't believe African American students are capable of being academically successful. Teachers need to understand that not all parents are able to participate or contribute. It may not be because of a lack of desire, but it could be because of resources, whether it's money or time. The author also suggests that if there are teachers who are specifically interested in teaching African American students, and I was one of them, that they should be recruited. Teachers must understand the central role of learning. They need to delve deep into the culture rather than focusing on only the F's of the country, the fun things, the food, the festivals, the flags, or the fashion. Finally, the philosophical perspective of this particular book I feel was progressivism. According to the Edupedia on theedadvocate.org, progressivism allows teachers facilitation to focus on learning and exploring physical, social, moral, and mental growth. This book's main focus is on culturally relevant teaching, and the quote from the book cements its roots in progressivism. It says that culturally relevant teaching is a pedagogy that empowers students intellectually, socially, emotionally, and politically by using these cultural reference to impart knowledge, skills, and attitudes. I totally agree with this. Um, the teachers do not just get up and feed students knowledge. They are definitely looking to get their input and bring their culture in to the whole process. So that is my book report on The Dream Keepers. Thank you.